It is Tuesday, which of course means it's time to answer the questions that you guys send in every single week on the BrendenPlayz forums at BrendenPlayz.com/forums or in the YouTube comment section down below. It has been a wild week in wrestling, let me tell you that. And for the wrong reasons. It has not been a great week for one company named TNA. And we're going to talk a lot about TNA and the possibility of a Global Force Wrestling crossover, invasion angle, whatever they're going to try and do to salvage this dead company. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Monday Night Raw. There's a few things I want to talk about Raw. Not really a lot, though. There wasn't really much to take out of Raw. It was just a standard episode of Raw. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Of course, TLC is coming up very, very soon as well. So I want to give you guys a bit of a preview. Maybe even like a bit of a pre-show kind of a feel to it. Like, I'll talk about some of the matches. I'll run through the card, obviously, and I'll talk about some of the matches and, give my analysis on it. Give a bit of a preview of TLC for you guys that have all been sticking around and enjoying the WWE2K15 Universe Mode episodes. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, a lot of gaming talk as well, because I had a big week in gaming. I've been playing a lot of games. I've been grinding, baby. So I want to let you know what I've been up to in my gaming this week. And fan questions. Now, put fan questions with a big asterisk next to it, because we have something we need to discuss before we get into today's show, and that is the new introduction of voicemails. We have finally decided to jump on the voicemail bandwagon, and you guys can now send in voicemails to Let's Talk Tuesdays for your questions. So this is not going to replace the existing system. So if you want to continue to send in your questions by the forums at BrendenPlayz.com/forums, and then going to the Let's Talk Tuesday thread and sending in your question there, or if you want to put your question in the YouTube comment section down below, you can still do that. That's fine. But there's an extra added third option, and you can go to the website, BrendenPlayz.com. On the right-hand side of the page, there will be a massive orange button that says Start Recording. It'll say at the top, send in your question for Let's Talk Tuesdays. Pretty easy. You just click the Start Recording button, you say what you want to say your question, and then you press stop and you submit it. It's so easy. It's, takes 10 seconds. However long your question's going to take, that's how long it will take. So this is pretty cool. I've seen other podcasts do it. Obviously, I got the idea from them, and I think it's a great idea to kind of give you guys another opportunity to interact with me a little bit more and have your voice heard on the show. I think it's pretty cool. So we're going to do this. So obviously this week we do have a few voicemails to answer, because I put it out on Twitter and Facebook earlier on this week, and a few of you guys jumped on and sent your questions in. So I appreciate that. Hopefully next week, a lot of you guys send in a few as well. It'd be great to have lots of them to answer. Obviously, once again, if your question is no good, I'm not going to use it. Just because you sent one in, I'm not going to play it just for the sake of it. If it's no good, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to listen to all the questions before I put them on the show, obviously. So, sorry, if you're going to send me a crap question, don't bother. But if you want to send me a voicemail that's just like, yo, look, I appreciate what you do, thanks for the show, I'm probably going to get some of them. If that's the case, that's fine. You can still send them in. I obviously won't put it on the show, but I'll be listening to them all, and I'll definitely appreciate any nice comments you have to say. Like, come on, who doesn't love getting a compliment? So that's that. But what I want to say for you guys to do for these questions, there's two simple requirements I'll ask for you guys when you send in a question. So when you send in a question, please, one, tell me your name. Who the hell are you? So my name is Joe. Okay. Number two, where are you from? So, pretty simple. My name is Joe. I'm from New Zealand. This is my question. So, an example would be, hey, my name's John. I'm from England. My question is, who is your favorite WWE superstar? Pretty simple. So, that's all I ask for you, just so I know where you're from, just so I can, sometimes you guys got some crazy accents. It's really amazing to tell. You don't really know how many people listen to your content from all around the world. Majority of my viewer base is America and the United Kingdom, obviously. So I'm thinking, yeah, most of my questions are going to come from them. But already today, I've gotten some questions and I'm going, I wonder where this guy's from. So it's kind of, it'd be cool to know where you guys are from, so I can, put a voice to a location, an accent to a country, so I kind of get a bit of a gist of, where you're from. And it'd be kind of cool as well for you guys to just know a couple quick things about you whilst you're sending in your questions. So that's all I ask for you guys. So your name and I guess your country where you're from. So and send in your question. And obviously I'm going to take as many questions as you want, but the questions, by the way, can only be no longer than 90 seconds. So up to 90 seconds in length. And by the way, if you have to send us a question that's longer than 90 seconds, Jesus, I don't even know if it's a question anymore. I think you're telling us a story. So most of them that we've been sent in so far have been 10 seconds long. So that's good. Straight to the point. I like that. So keep doing that. Keep it short and sweet. And send in your questions by voicemail. So you can do that once again, BrendenPlayz.com. And if you go on any page as well, there'll be a grey banner on the far right of the page that you can click on that as well, and it'll work the same. Otherwise, on the front page, there is a big orange button. You can just press that. So it's very, very easy, very, very simple, but it's also very, very awesome. So you can expect to see some of those voicemails played at the end of the show. All right, so let's get into the show this week. We have Monday Night Raw. Now, I enjoyed the show. I'm going to admit, I did enjoy the show. I'm going to say, though, I kind of zoned out when the matches were on. I was just kind of keeping my eye on the storyline segments. And, some of the matches I did pay attention to. Obviously, Cesaro and John Cena was a good match. I did definitely enjoyed that. And they made Cesaro look really good. Cesaro looked very, very good tonight. But you cannot help but wonder, is this going to lead to anything? I doubt it, and that's the shame. That's a real shame. Cesaro is so good. I really, really like Cesaro, but they don't really want to do anything with him, and that just frustrates me. Last year, I was thinking at this time last year that Cesaro will probably be in a main event. He's going to be the man. He's got Paul Heyman by him. He's going to be doing so well, and they just squashed that, and, by the time SummerSlam came around, he was nothing. So, disappointing, and I think he had a great tag team run with Tyson Kidd. I obviously think that those two guys will reunite eventually when Tyson Kidd does recover from his horrible surgery. And by the way, I saw a picture of his neck on Twitter that looks bad, real bad. So I hope Tyson Kidd recovers very, very soon. And, I wish him all the best because it's not looking good for him. That he has a big stitches right in the back of his neck. It looks dreadful. Gonna have a cool scar. Let me tell you that. He'll have a very cool scar, but yeah, it looks ugly. But definitely wish him all the best. When Tyson Kidd does come back, though, if Cesaro is elevated into something, if Cesaro finally, after years of, we all know how good he is, finally they catch on and realize if he turns into something good, I would love to see Cesaro and Tyson Kidd feud. Tyson Kidd could be like, look, you left me high and dry. I was on the sidelines and you became this star without me. You didn't care about me. You didn't talk to me. You didn't call me. You didn't check up on me. You never came to visit. You were just there trying to worry about your own career. Where were you whilst I was injured? And now that I'm back, you don't even want to talk to me now that I'm back because you think you're better than me. So I want to prove that I am better than you and just as good as you. Or something like that, Very simple, very easy storyline to do, but yet it's so effective, I think. Sometimes simplicity is good in wrestling. You don't have to overcomplicate things, nor does it need to be overcomplicated. Like, most people, like the majority of wrestling viewers, are younger these days. We've got a younger viewing audience, and they don't want to be complicated. So keep it simple sometimes. Yes, you can have your more, in-depth storyline that you have to really sit down and watch, but sometimes simple is good. And stick to the basics. Stick to what works sometimes, If it makes sense, then do it. If it, just because you maybe think, oh, it's predictable, doesn't mean it's going to be bad. Like a storyline like that, an injury return storyline, whilst it may be simple, whilst you think, okay, yeah, that's predictable, still, I think it would be good. So, when Tyson Kidd comes back, I think there's a good potential for them to do something. If not, worst comes to worst, Cesaro is literally just doing nothing. He's the next Jack Swagger, which probably will be the case. Put Cesaro and Kidd back together as a team and let them go again, because Tyson Kidd by himself just, unfortunately, is just nothing. He just doesn't have much value by himself. Don't get me wrong, Tyson Kidd is a fantastic wrestler, really, really good, but just by himself, just doesn't really have much of a personality. His look a few years ago was pretty bad, when he was in the Hart Dynasty or whatever the hell that was. Wasn't looking really good, but he's starting to get there now. I think he's got a good look, unique look. When he went to NXT and kind of rejuvenated his career and just made something different, made a different character for himself, I think that was the best decision for him. That was a really, really good decision for him, because he was just kind of, didn't know where he's going. He didn't have any direction of his character. He doesn't really know who he was. What is Tyson Kidd all about? We know he's a great wrestler, but what? What else? Now, we still don't know a lot about the man himself, but he's got a different kind of look to him. He's coming out with the headphones and the hoodie and things like that. He's got Natalia looking good by his side. So at least he kind of looks good, even though we don't know much about him. And that's a big problem in WWE today. They don't really spend the time on addressing characters. We don't even know who these guys are. Neville, for example, coming up from NXT. Yeah, we know he can do the Red Arrow. We know he's the man who gravity forgot, but what else do we know? Nothing. We don't know anything about him, so we don't know anything about these guys who are coming up from NXT, and this has been a big problem for such a long time. They just don't spend the time to explain anything. They don't spend the time to introduce these characters, because you think about it. If you're watching... I don't watch Game of Thrones, but if you're watching Game of Thrones, because I know everyone loves Game of Thrones, if you're watching Game of Thrones and they introduce a brand new character who's going to be important, who's going to be something to the show, look, Tyson Kidd was a champion. They introduce a character who's going to have a pretty decent role in the show, and they explain absolutely nothing about them other than they tell you their name. All right, this is Jason. Okay, this is Jason, and he. I'm going to forget about the Game of Thrones reference, but you bring in a wrestler, Tyson Kidd. You basically say, this is Tyson Kidd, and he's a wrestler. Okay, what else? What else do we know about him? We know he's Natty's husband, thanks to Total Divas. But other than that, nothing really. And that's been a big problem for a long time in wrestling, and it is frustrating, and that's one of the things they really need to address when they bring up people from NXT. And speaking of NXT, later on the show, later on the Raw coverage, we're going to talk about NXT, and I think there's a big chance we're going to see some divas finally come up from the NXT roster and come into the WWE and save this division, which is very much needed. But before we get there, let's talk about this opening segment. So we kind of went off a bit of a tangent there, but anyways, opening segment, Seth Rollins coming out with the Authority. I'm going to probably a bit of an unpopular opinion. I enjoyed this segment. It kind of was a bit of a throwback to Mankind and The Rock kind of thing. I kind of liked it. It was a little bit like that. And obviously wasn't as great as that, and it never was going to be, but I kind of liked it. Seth Rollins buying gifts for the Authority, and they were all playing it up how, oh my god, this is amazing, thank you so much, Seth. It's just kind of like what Seth would do. I think tonight was a good night for Seth Rollins. I personally, as his character, I really kind of went, okay, well, this guy is just an absolute scumbag, and he just sucking up to all these guys so much to keep them on the same page, but yet he's kind of playing them well. He's trying to prove that he's the man, but now that he's got to deal with Brock Lesnar, oh crap, I need these guys back. Okay, what can I do? Okay, let's just buy their love. And so simple yet so effective. You give someone a new car, and everything that they thought about you will be quickly changed into positive thoughts. So it worked. And poor old Jamie Noble, 3 broken ribs, and they're still making him come out there every single week, and even getting physical. I mean, he even took a bump on Raw. What the hell? Why are they making Jamie do this? Why couldn't Jamie just say, look, I'm injured, I'm just going to stand outside the ring? Why? Poor Jamie. Poor bastard. That's all I can say. But I did kind of enjoy the segment. And probably pretty unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people didn't really like it, but I kind of thought it was kind of goofy, kind of funny in a way, and I just kind of enjoyed it. So we'll get into the Diva thing now. So I didn't really write a lot of things about Raw. There wasn't really a lot of things to really talk about, but the whole Paige versus the Bellas situation. Now Alicia Fox, who's been brought up from obscurity, and she's been doing absolutely nothing for months, but all of a sudden, she's now amazing. All of a sudden, you put her with the Bellas, and she just wins every single match. Amazing. But she did lose on Raw, though. But all of a sudden, she's with the Bellas, and now she's good. Even though she hasn't really been on TV at all for months. And last time she was on TV, well, she was feuding with Paige. Well, what a coincidence. Keeping it fresh, I see. So definitely this situation, Paige and the Bellas, it is screaming out to me that they're going to bring up someone from NXT. And if they don't, well, it's going to be very, very bad. And it's going to be a huge missed opportunity. This whole storyline that they're setting up, if they're not setting it up for an NXT Diva call-up, like 2-3 Divas from NXT to be called up and assist Paige, then I don't know what the hell they're doing with this. That's the only thing I can think about. That you know, when I was watching this segment, Paige is all by herself, and you know she's against the Bellas and whatever. The whole time, I'm just thinking, geez, we could see these NXT Divas come in and easily be slotted into this storyline, and it'd be good. And they'd turn the storyline from the shit that it is into something decent. So I personally keep dragging it out for a while. You know, have a match at Battleground. Perhaps you make it a 3-on-1 handicap match at Battleground. Have a 3-on-1 handicap match and say, look, Paige, you got to find two Divas. She doesn't find anyone. Paige gets her ass kicked. Then all of a sudden, you know, you have, during the match, all of a sudden you have Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley if you want. I don't know how many Divas do we want to bring up. Do we want to bring in 3 or do we want to bring in 4? Maybe just the 2, Sasha Banks and Charlotte. We bring them in, they run in, they make the save for Paige while she's getting beat down after the match, and they officially align themselves with Paige, and they're going against the Bellas. SummerSlam, 6 Diva tag, Paige, Sasha Banks, Charlotte versus the Bellas and Alicia Fox. Pretty simple. But it'd be a decent way to bring them in. It's something, and they really need to bring them in. This Divas roster is horrible. Absolutely horrible. How long can we have Nikki Bella feud with Paige for the title? I don't know. I mean, we've already seen Naomi lose. Tamina Snuka is done. She's off TV again with Naomi, who they had a 2-month run as an alliance, and now they're done. Nobody cares about them anymore. They're irrelevant. I knew that. I knew Naomi was never going to win the title. I knew she was just going to be filler. I knew she was just there, and they're going to turn a heel because AJ Lee's gone. So they're going to turn a heel, and we're just going to have a feud with Nikki for the belts, and then have a lose, and then Nikki can go on to Paige when she returns. And then Paige will probably lose, and then we'll bring in someone else, and we'll do the same thing until Nikki eventually is the longest reigning Divas champion, and then eventually Nikki will lose the belt. So I'm either thinking they're going to bring him in for SummerSlam, or they're going to keep this Nikki Bella thing going on until eventually she does become the longest reigning Divas champion, and then an open challenge, maybe an NXT Diva accepts it, takes the belt with them, yada yada yada. Anyways, moving on now. So, Dolph Ziggler and Lana. Oh my god. This is a train wreck. This is dreadful. This is bad. I mean, Lana coming out, the only change to her since pairing up with Dolph Ziggler, tonight she had her hair a bit longer. She didn't have it tied up in a bun or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. I don't have long hair, so I have no idea. But she had her hair out a little bit tonight, and that's it. I mean, she's addressed that she's a changed woman, yet she still wears the same thing. She's addressed that, look, I don't want to be Rusev's, woman. I'm my own person now. I can do what I want. Yet she's still looking the same. She's still talking the same, even though we all know she's American. Summer Rae, Jesus Christ, even Summer Rae addressed it. She said, look, we all know you're a phony. And yes, she is. She is a phony. She's being fake. And I believe Summer Rae. I was, okay, yes, she is. She's fake. We all know she's not this great little, woman. She's not this Russian person, whatever. And she's been doing evil for a long time and telling Rusev to crush for over a year. Now all of a sudden she's got a smile on her face and she's great, this great person. So maybe Summer Rae, for once in her life, has a point. But again, this is just dreadful. Now, the only thing that really would have saved this segment, I was begging for it. Just begging for it. I was hoping that Rusev was just going to be this sympathetic guy, this sympathetic heel. I know that's different. Sympathetic guy. Dolph Ziggler laughing at him. I took your girl. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to beat up your other leg. And Rusev should have just said on the mic, do it then. All right, if you want to do it, come do it. Takes off his cast. and beats the living shit out of Dolph Ziggler. Now that would have been amazing. I would have marked out for that. I would have said, that's it. Great segment. This storyline has now got good. But of course, I'm guessing Rusev is still injured. Not going to happen. So, I don't know. This whole now Ziggler and Lana are now boyfriend-girlfriend. Who really gives a shit? This is just awful. The only really way to save this is for Lana just to turn on Ziggler and just say, I was using him the whole time, and go back to Rusev and just forget that this even happened. But I doubt it. I just doubt it. Rusev is just looking like an absolute bitch right now. And it's sad because I like Rusev. He's great. I think he's one of my favorites. I think he's probably in my top 5. Now he's just doing nothing. He's just in this horrible love angle, which is never really good. It's just nowhere but... I mean, where can Rusev really go from here? I have no idea. What's the future of Rusev? I don't know. It's just sad. And Dolph Ziggler, look... There's a lot of rumors that he's going to leave the company, and I didn't want to address them last week. I know you might be thinking, well, I didn't talk about the Ziggler rumor. That's because I did not believe he was going to leave, and there's a lot of rumors that he resigned this week, that he's going to stay on with the company. That's also just been denied as well, so we don't know his future. And there's been a lot of talk that he may leave the company for a year or so and come back, and if that's the case, then I think that's probably a good move from Ziggler. You know, a lot of people say, well, why do you think that? But you go back to 2005, and I'm going to use Chris Jericho as my example. This guy left the company, and, you know, he was, in 2001, 2002, he was in a decent position. He was undisputed champion for a little bit, and then he was near the top of the card, doing pretty well. Then he just went on a decline, and they just stopped really caring about him, didn't really use him much. And in 2005, he left. He was burnt out, he left, he had to go. After a good 6 years in the WWE, 15 years as a wrestler, wanted to leave and pursue outside things. And Dolph Ziggler is in a very similar position. He's been in the WWE for over 10 years now. You kind of forget about that Ziggler has been in this company for so long, but a decade. And where has he been? Well, for a good 5 years, he was, Spirit Squad, he was the caddy for Chavo. Then he went in the mid-card, and he won a couple mid-card titles. Eventually, he won the World Heavyweight Championship, and that was taken away from him basically instantly. He's been popular. He's been over. People have enjoyed Dolph Ziggler. But he's just never really, in the WWE's eyes, been nothing more than that upper mid-card guy, and I don't think he ever will be. So for Dolph Ziggler, if he moves away from the WWE, leaves for a year or so, does some outside things, does this comedy thing that he wants to do, and is successful at it. He's good. He can grow himself as a star, grow himself as a personality, and people can, Dolph Ziggler brand, you can grow. Then he can come back to the WWE, and WWE may see something else in him. Okay, this guy's pretty good. He's stand-up comedic, doing pretty well for himself. He's landed a couple of shows here and there, doing pretty well. Okay, maybe we should give this guy another opportunity. Rather than, Dolph Ziggler's stuck in the WWE, working the same schedule over and over, and he's in these shitty storylines, doing nothing, even though he's popular, even though he has potential. You just go back to the Survivor Series, where he had an awesome night. He cleared house, won it for Team Cena or whatever. He won that match, he had so much momentum, and then they just did absolutely nothing with it. I don't blame the guy. Dolph Ziggler should be very frustrated that he's had so many opportunities to grow his character into something big, and the WWE have just never given him the chance. They've just given him this shit storyline, and it's just cooled him off, and he's just done. It's got to be frustrating. How much can he really take? I personally, if I was getting treated like shit, this is the problem with WWE today. There's nowhere else to work. And we're going to talk about TNA soon, but they're sure as hell not an option at this point. So there's nowhere for Ziggler to go. So, unfortunately, Ziggler's just stuck here until he just, mans up and says, look, I've got to go. Let me try something else. But Ziggler, I think he's still young. He's still, 35, 36. Got a few more years left in him yet. He's still in great shape. I think he's great. I think people bag on his promos, but I like Ziggler as a promo. He can cut a good one. Great in the ring, we all know that. So, what are the WWE waiting for? How much longer are we going to wait? Ziggler's been in the company for 10 years. Are we going to do something with him, or are we just going to have him flounder around the mid-card for the rest of his career? I don't know, but if anything, he deserves better than this. If anything, he deserves better than this shitty love angle that's going nowhere. Rusev and Ziggler as a feud, that would have been great, but we didn't really need this whole love angle kind of thing going on. Unfortunately, Rusev got hurt. Perhaps this storyline would have been better if Rusev did not get hurt, but unfortunately, well, you know, that's how it turns out. But anyways, let's close out Monday Night Raw with Seth Rollins and the Authority. Another beatdown, this time to Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Well, they've done it again. Brock Lesnar, now Roman Reigns and Ambrose. Although Roman Reigns, he put up a hell of a fight. I mean, the Authority, you know, for a team that's so dominant, they sure as hell take their time and actually getting the upper hand and beating them down in the end. But they did get there. So, I don't know, like Roman Reigns, he got beat up by Bray Wyatt as well. It was okay. What are we doing with Dean Ambrose? Are we having him feud with Kane? What the hell are we doing? I don't know. But look, it is what it is. I mean, the Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar storyline, a lot of people hated what happened last week. I was okay with it, but yeah, I mean, come on. This is just beyond a joke right now. Seth Rollins needing everyone in the world. I mean, look, if the Authority actually had some decent people in it, if they didn't have Kane, didn't have J&J, let's pluck out a few guys. Let's put Cesaro in there. Who else can we put in there? Maybe if the Ascension were a joke, let's put those three random guys. This is the first three guys I thought of. But even that sounds better than Kane and J&J. I mean, the Authority is just such a joke. They've got this old-timer in Kane, and I don't mind him being in that role. That's fine with Kane. But J&J, these guys don't even wrestle. Couldn't we at least get a tag team and establish this tag team with the Authority and then push this tag team as a credible, dominant heel tag team, rather than give J&J security 20 minutes of TV time every single week and give them a beat down every week? I know what they're there for. I know they're there just to get their ass kicked and take bumps. But you just think the Authority could be doing so much better and doing so much more with other talent. They could bring in, God, anybody. And instantly, well, they're a big deal. They're an Authority now. Okay. But they don't do that. So to me, seeing J&J and Kane, I mean, Kane was, 48, 49 years old. Jesus Christ. I mean, he's just a dinosaur at the moment. I like Kane, but at the moment, I'm just a bit tired of him. I just really don't care for him anymore. But, just seeing the Authority, they just don't look menacing at all. And Seth Rollins is the leader, okay, but they just need someone else in there. They need bring in someone different, somebody new, because the Authority is just so stale beyond belief right now. They just need to do something to fix it. But that pretty much covers it for this week on Monday Night Raw. Like I said, there was a few talking points about it, just a few things I was frustrated with. But overall, not a bad show. I did enjoy it. Obviously, Cesaro and Cena was a good match. I didn't mind some of the tag matches at the end with the Authority and Ambrose and Reigns. So, look, not a bad show in the end. Now, I want to quickly mention the Beast and the East little live event special that's happening on the WWE Network. I know it's happening at like 5 a.m. in the morning for everybody in the States, but I believe it's like 7 o'clock at night. It's prime time, baby, for me. I think this is going to be the first time I get to watch a WWE show live when it's not early in the morning for me. So this is great. I think their time zone is like 1 hour difference between me and Japan. I think that's right. I don't know, but fantastic. I'm happy. I'm excited. This should be a good show. I mean, I think we all know that Kevin Owens is probably going to lose the NXT title to Finn Balor in what is going to be an epic match. That's going to be worth the price of admission alone. But seeing Brock Lesnar in action in what is probably going to be a 2-minute match against Kofi Kingston, and what Brock Lesnar is going to probably kill Kofi Kingston, that's going to be fun. That'll be nice to see. Maybe the New Day can all be there with Kingston and clapping along and, cutting promo before the match and talking heaps of crap, and then out comes Lesnar and he just takes out all three of the New Day and beats the shit out of them all and sends a message to Seth Rollins. Something like that. That would just be awesome. I'd love to see that. I don't know, is Seth Rollins on the show? I'm not 100% sure what the rest of the card is. If he is, it'd be cool to see Lesnar and Rollins do something on the show. I would say a lot of people are going to tune in for this. Everyone with the network will probably, see this one. So I think they can definitely progress a few storylines if they wanted to. So I still hope they, make it a live event feel. They don't try and overdo it. Don't try and make it a pay-per-view. Just keep it a live event. Keep it, how you would have made it, but obviously televise it and keep the production value there. But I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good show. So definitely going to be checking it out. And like I said, primetime, baby. So I'll be definitely tuning in. And not in the morning. Thank goodness. I'll be looking at it live. So I'll probably tweet about it because everyone else will be probably asleep. And some of you guys are going to wake up for it. So let me know if you're going to wake up for it and see it. I think it might be worth getting up early to see Owens and Balor. But obviously, if it's on demand, do you really need to get up at 5 a.m. to watch it? I probably wouldn't. So, all right, let's move on to TNA and the company that they're on their last legs. Let's be honest. Slammiversary this week, which I would probably assume did a pretty shitty buy rate because I personally have not watched the show. I wanted to watch it. I wanted to try and find it, but in my 2-minute search for it, I didn't find anything for it, so I didn't care. I was like, okay, let me check out maybe the King of the Mountain match, see how good old Jeff Jarrett did. Didn't watch it, though. TNA, look, I did like TNA at a point. I was a fan in, I think, 2008, 2009. I kind of enjoyed TNA. But now, it's just sad. It's just sad looking at TNA, and this really does reek of ECW at the dying days and WCW at the dying days. Everybody's leaving the company. There's so much bad rep. Nothing good is happening with the company right now. It doesn't matter if they have a good match. It doesn't matter if they put on a good show. Nobody gives a shit. Their attendance rates are down. Their pay-per-view rates, the pay-per-views are barely existent. So TNA is really not looking good, and I fear that TNA, come September, it might be just done. I just think they might just say, look, our TV deal is gone, let's just call it quits, because I believe James Storm is leaving the company, Magnus is leaving the company, Austin Aries is rumored to be leaving, Low Key is gone, so they're just a few names at the top of my head. So TNA starting to lose some of its roster. Obviously lost Samoa Joe earlier this year as well. Bringing back Jeff Jarrett to main event your pay-per-view is not going to solve any issues, that is for sure. And I liked seeing Jeff Jarrett back. I think the whole storyline of Jeff coming back and getting his one last match, going out in his own terms, I like that storyline. But they had, half a week of build-up towards it. That's a storyline they should have done a month ago and built it up as something special. But thrown together at the last minute because Kurt Angle, I believe, was out. He has unfortunately, he's got something wrong with his neck. I believe it's a tumor or something like that. We don't know the full details. I'm not going to say anything, but hopefully Kurt is okay. I don't know. One of the things that also annoys me with TNA is they tape the shows that after their pay-per-views. So if you looked up the spoilers online, they've already taped ahead of the Slammiversary pay-per-view. And that to me is just unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I know you have these taping dates, you want to fill that and have all the talent come in for those dates, work those dates, whatever, and get your TV done. But you have a live pay-per-view, but you've already taped ahead of the pay-per-view? That is just beyond, that's just ridiculous. How anybody could rationalize that to me is, I have no idea. How can you possibly sell that to me as a good idea? I don't know. You have Slammiversary. You expect people to buy this pay-per-view. But if you looked up online, you could already find all the results. Because I believe Davey Richards and Austin Aries are having a one-on-one match to determine their final stipulation for their final match out of 5, best out of 5. They've already had the best out of 5 match. We already know what happened. So the whole match is pointless. It's just, things like that is just, oh my god, this is just ridiculous. And that's why TNA is a joke, in my opinion, because you just cannot be doing that. Just, why? Why does anybody think that's a good idea? Tape up until your pay-per-view. You have your pay-per-view. Then, tape again. Can't you tape the day after the pay-per-view and then airing on Wednesday? Does your TNA production staff not work Tuesdays? I mean, what's going on? I don't get it. So even the WWE, and they never did any of that crap. You don't see the WWE ever doing that. So it's just stupid. So I think a lot of people in TNA are kind of giving up. I mean, they got Bully Ray back, I believe, this week, so that's at least something. But not even Bully Ray. I like Bully Ray. Not even he can save TNA. Nobody can save TNA because they're gone. They're done, and that's a shame. Like I said, I was a fan of TNA at one point. I believe I got back into watching TNA in 2012. The Slammiversary 2012, I watched that pay-per-view. I really, really loved it. I loved that pay-per-view. That was amazing. Probably one of my favorite pay-per-views that year. Maybe even my favorite pay-per-view, because 2012 was a pretty dark year for WWE. So I was looking for something else because WWE was pretty bad. So I went to TNA, checked it out. I was enjoying it. I stayed on for about 3 months. I just kind of lost interest, kind of fell away a little bit. It just wasn't really keeping me there. There just wasn't the compelling storylines and the characters that kind of kept me back watching on a week to week basis. And that's not to say that WWE really has that either, but I guess WWE is so in tune to me. It's so just there. Like, you go on social media, it's all over the place. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it that I follow. Everyone talks about WWE. If you're a wrestling fan, you're watching WWE and talking about it. So it's just kind of there, whereas TNA is kind of a niche market at the moment. Not a lot of people talking about it. There's got no buzz to it, so nothing's really happening. So you just kind of go, okay, I don't really need to watch this week's show. Maybe I'll check it out in a couple of weeks, see what's going on then. So it doesn't really, to me at least, I don't get the need to watch every single week. And that's a problem. That's definitely a problem. And the ratings show in TNA. So there's been a lot of talk this week that perhaps a merger with Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling may happen, or maybe an invasion. I don't know. And there's been some talk that because Magnus and James Storm are leaving the company, that they're not actually leaving. They're just going to Global Force Wrestling to start this storyline, this invasion thing. I don't know what's true or not. I have no idea what's going on. But all I can say is Global Force Wrestling itself has been a colossal failure. I have no idea why anyone would want to book these baseball park, stadiums, arenas, whatever. Why would anyone want to book that as a wrestling event? Like, why would you want to have a wrestling event there? That is, once again, that's beyond me. I have no idea. It looks horrible. The crowd is nowhere near the actual ring. They're a good 20 meters away from the ring. They're all up in the stands. And by the way, there's nobody at this Global Force Wrestling event anyways. And the lighting on it seemed pretty poorly lit. And it just looked bad. It just looked really bad. And it just didn't look like a show that you have to go and see. It's not indie shows do a lot better. They draw 500,000 people. This show drew like 150 people. So Global Force Wrestling for a startup, really not looking good. And why would you want to go there anyway? Who is on the roster that is must see? Who was on the roster that you making yourself thinking to yourself, I have to go and see this show? I don't really see anybody. We see some indie guys, you regularly indie guys, and you see a couple of old WWE guys, but there really isn't that marquee star. Not that there really is anybody out there, but there really isn't much to really boast about with Global Force Wrestling. Now, I like that Jarrett is starting something up again and, getting himself involved again, because TNA in the opening stages was pretty good. Not a bad company. Had potential. And then they morphed it into something else with the Dixie Carter era coming in and, bringing Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo and Hogan and all that. They morphed it into something that was just a WWE light and didn't have its own identity. So Global Force Wrestling has an opportunity to do something, but I still just see it as like an indie promotion. I don't see it as like these guys are locked down, signed to these contracts. This is a promotion. This is a company. We're going to take this on the road everywhere. These guys are GFW guys only. We don't see any of that. So, to me, Global Force Wrestling has started off really badly. Jeff Jarrett going on TNA and getting this free publicity is a win for Jarrett. TNA obviously desperate to try and fulfill some kind of a main event for their pay-per-view. I believe Jarrett won the King of the Mountain Championship, which, by the way, okay, why are we having a title on this line? I don't know. King of the Mountain, by the way, I really don't like that match stipulation. I've watched one King of the Mountain match. It looks just really goofy and weird. It just seems stupid. I don't really think that's much to be really proud of. That stipulation just seems really stupid. I don't like it at all. But anyways, look, TNA, I think this might be the end. And probably until they actually do close their doors, I probably won't talk about TNA much. I haven't really talked about it much at all on Let's Talk Tuesdays, but there really hasn't been much to talk about that's anything positive. They have some great wrestlers in the company, and they're all starting to leave. So it's going to be interesting, though. Will the WWE pick any of these guys up? Especially one name in particular, Austin Aries. I think he's probably the one guy I would be picking up from TNA. So it'd be interesting to see. I think he'll probably go to Ring of Honor, though. I don't think the NXT will bring him in, which is a shame because I think Austin Aries would be a good fit. But then again, the WWE have been realizing, okay, we need to bring in some guys because our NXT roster is getting a little bit thin once we move Owens and Balor and, perhaps even Joe and Zayn up in the main roster. We're going to be left a little bit high and dry, so we need some more guys coming in. So an Austin Aries, I think, would fill the void pretty well. This is my opinion. So I would like to see that. Perhaps they will bring him in because of that new mentality they've got, that they're trying to make this NXT show like an indie kind of show that's appealing to these die-hard wrestling fans, and that's probably how it should be. That's how it should be marketed. And then you can have the main roster as the big global thing marketed to families and everything, whatever. But this NXT product, I think, should be marketed towards the die-hard wrestling fans and appealing to that. So bringing in a guy like Austin Aries, he's had a great career. He's been around for quite a while. He's in Ring of Honor. Now TNA. Bring him back into NXT. I think it'd be a good fit. And Samoa Joe and Austin Aries can have another match. Why not? Bring in some more TNA guys and we can have a mini TNA in NXT perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, so TNA really not looking good. And it seems as though to me, Ring of Honor is probably just about already taken over the number 2 spot. I see Ring of Honor at the moment above TNA. And Ring of Honor is putting on a better 1-hour product as well. I believe they had an absolute killer match, 6-man tag team match with the Bullet Club and Okada and Barrett and somebody else. I'm missing the name. I watched a bit of it. It was pretty good. So they're just doing some great matches, doing great things with Ring of Honor TV. So perhaps they are the new number 2 company in America, which is unfortunate for TNA, but I just get the feeling there's no way back. They're too far in the grave. There's no way back. Anyways, let's talk about TLC, the upcoming W2K15 Universe Mode pay-per-view. This pay-per-view, I'm hoping to have it out by the weekend. That's the plan, that's the goal, that's the dream. As we know, when I say I want it out by this certain time, 9 times out of 10, it does not happen at that certain time. But that's the hope, that's the goal, like I said. So hoping to have it out by the end of the weekend. I'm aiming for Sunday. I'll take Monday, but I'm hoping Sunday. So this is going to be a big show, a big card. This is going to be one of the biggest cards I've ever done in Universe Mode. And it's going to be pretty crazy because I think we're having 10 matches on the show, and that's something that's really kind of unheard of in my series. Normally you have like 7, 8, maybe even 9 at the most. But 10 matches, we kind of went overboard. I didn't really realize how many matches I really had until I kind of drew up and did all the pay-per-view posters and pictures for them all. I was like, holy shit, I have a lot of matches. Maybe even too many matches. But I thought, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's have a lot of matches. Because it is the final pay-per-view of the year. I think it's pretty exciting. I think it's pretty cool. And, you want to leave the final pay-per-view of the calendar year off with a bang. TLC at the end. I personally enjoy TLC. I don't really see it on the level as a TLC, as a battleground. As a Hell in a Cell and a battleground. I personally like TLC. Especially in Universe Mode, I often see TLC as a decent pay-per-view. Like, obviously, last year's TLC, we had The Rock and Triple H. We had Brock Lesnar and Rob Van Dam. So we had a couple of good matches on the show. So this time, again, I want to kind of stack it up a bit and make TLC pretty memorable. So obviously, at the top of the card is going to be the WWE Championship matchup, TLC match, Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. So Seth Rollins has been champion for a while now. He survived a couple of multi-man matches. He survived Roman Reigns. Now, can he survive Randy Orton? And even though Seth Rollins has beaten Randy Orton time and time again, maybe Randy Orton's regrouped and found out what the missing ingredient is to his game that can beat Seth Rollins, and perhaps Randy can get his revenge. But of course, Seth Rollins, a couple beatdowns on Raw. Maybe not. Moving on, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match, TLC again. CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. Well, both men are in tremendous form. Punk himself has been on a roll. Lost to Christian not long ago, though, and lost to Bray Wyatt as well, thanks to Chris Jericho this week on SmackDown. So, I guess that may have hindered his confidence a little bit. Coming into the pay-per-view, he's got a couple losses next to his name, so Jericho can feel pretty good about himself, who's been so dominant, beaten The Undertaker multiple times, also won at Survivor Series in a dominant match. He's just been winning everything. So Chris Jericho aligning himself with Bray Wyatt as well. He's had a great time, and my prediction, I would say Chris Jericho probably walks away with the championship. And by the way, first match, I would say Seth Rollins wins again, because, let's be honest, Randy Orton, well, look, he hasn't beaten Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has beaten him so many times, it's hard to argue. And Chris Jericho's in the form that he's in, you'd have to say Chris will probably get it done. United States Championship matchup, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Kane. Now, Kane finally qualified and got himself a number one contendership opportunity, and he took it with both hands, beat Daniel Bryan on Raw, now facing Ziggler at the pay-per-view. I still think Ziggler's going to win, though. I think Ziggler has been doing really well. He's trying to work his way into the main event. I can't see Ziggler really losing, but Kane, bit of a wild card. He's been pretty good at times, so you never know. On his night, he's always hard to beat, so I'm still going to say Ziggler, but it's going to be tough. WWE Tag Team Championship matchup, The Ascension versus Next Generation, or NXT Generation, whatever you say. So, Ascension versus Neville and Zayn. The team of Neville and Zayn have been working very, very hard to get to the top. They've been very hard to try and get themselves in contendership with these tag titles, and they've finally done it. So, you'd have to say, with the momentum they've had, with the courageousness, they've been trying so hard, I just think they're going to get it done. I just think they've got the heart. They've been wanting this so much. In the Ascension, they've been falling down the ladder a little bit, a couple of matches. They've managed to lose. They're not being the team that they were known them to be. They've been very dominant, but they've just started to slip a few matches away and get a couple of losses next to their name. So I think Zayn and Neville could get it done at TLC. Ryback versus Roman Reigns in a quote-unquote chairs match, and I say that because there is no technically a chairs match in the game, but we're going to disguise it as a no-holds-barred match. But Roman Reigns versus Ryback, this is a tough one to pick because Roman Reigns coming off a Survivor Series loss. It's hard to say, will he win again? Will he come back and turn around? Whereas Ryback has had a couple of bad months, but he's really starting to turn it all around. I think ever since Old School Raw, where he got the victory, I think he's starting to turn it around. It really just starting to build some momentum, and I think Ryback is really starting to make a play towards that WWE Championship. So I would probably expect Ryback to win this one, although Roman Reigns is going to be a very, very tough opponent to beat. But Roman Reigns losing to Seth Rollins, maybe it's for the best that Ryback gets it done anyways. I think Roman Reigns may just miss out on this one. Number one contendership matchup for the World Tag Team Championships, The Miz and Sandow versus the Lucha Dragons. Both these teams have been battling it out for weeks on main event, trading victories back and forth. I think the Lucha Dragons, since they're a new team on the block, I think they may get it done. I think they're new, they're hungry, they're ready to go. I think they can get it done. I think The Miz and Sandow going back to his original personality, has been a good change for them, a very good move, and now they've been starting to win more matches and working better as a team. But I just think they won't be able to contend the high-flying Lucha Dragons. And the Lucha Dragons, at their best, is very, very tough to beat. Bray Wyatt versus Christian. Both men have been dealing with the World Heavyweight Championship matchup as well. They've been involved in that little rivalry, now having their own little singles match. This is a way for Christian and Bray Wyatt to both prove themselves worthy of an opportunity for the world title down the line as well. So you can think about this one as well as Ryback versus Roman Reigns as potential number one contendership matches. But definitely Bray Wyatt getting the victory against CM Punk on SmackDown. Oh, it's tough to say, but I think Bray Wyatt may be able to edge out Christian. And that would be very interesting to see Bray Wyatt inserted into the World Heavyweight Championship division and put in that match, because Chris Jericho and Bray Wyatt have been working very hard together for a long time, and together as an alliance for the last 3 or 4 months, doing lots of good things together, been very, very dominant. Perhaps Jericho has now replaced Christian with Bray Wyatt as, potential his new tag team partner. So if Bray Wyatt beats Christian, now the next number one contender, will we see Bray Wyatt turn on Chris Jericho and have a match and try and win the World Heavyweight Championship? Maybe. Triple threat matchup between the Divas for the Divas Championship. AJ Lee versus Brie Bella, who is the champion, versus Paige. This is a tough one. Obviously, AJ Lee on SmackDown and main event, she beat Brie Bella and then she beat Paige. So you'd have to say AJ. AJ's just got all the momentum heading in. She's just beating everybody there is to beat. Who's going to stop AJ? No idea. I don't think anybody's going to stop her. I think she's walking out Divas Champion. Intercontinental Championship matchup. Dean Ambrose with the returning Paul Heyman by his side versus Rusev. Dean Ambrose has been on a roll. He's been dominant. He's looking very, very good. Rusev, been a lot of talk that is he quite ready to be a champion yet? I don't know. I think Ambrose may just walk away as the Intercontinental Champion at TLC. It's going to be an absolute brawl, but I think Ambrose may just be good enough to get it done. Finally, our last match on the show, tables match. Sheamus versus Rob Van Dam. A long, long feud between these two. Finally getting an opportunity in a one-on-one match to put it to rest. TLC, we're going to see a tables match, Sheamus RVD, to finally end this feud, end this rivalry, end this feud. Rob Van Dam won at Survivor Series. He's got all the momentum. I think he may be able to do it again. Last year, though, TLC was not a very happy pay-per-view for RVD. I think he'll be able to rectify himself and turn TLC into a happy pay-per-view for RVD this year as a big victory against Sheamus. And maybe RVD could perhaps make a play for that US title in the future. So that's TLC. Let me know what you guys are thinking about TLC, and leave your thoughts and opinions on the card so far in the comment section down below. What match are you looking forward to on TLC? Let me know. What is Brendan playing this week? So we had a big week in gaming, like I mentioned earlier on the show. 3 platinums this week, and as you guys know, I'm a big trophy hunter. Been working hard on my trophy contest, and I'm hosting on my forums, BrendenPlayz.com/forums. We've got 16 players I'm versing in my trophy competition, and I'm in second place. My team is in second place. Obviously, I'm a solo team, so I'm working really, really extra hard to try and get in first place. I was in 4th place, equal 3rd place, I believe, last week. Now I'm moving into second, very, very close to taking over first. So 3 platinums this week. If you haven't been following my Brendan's Platinums channel, which will be the link will be in the description below. If you haven't been following that channel, make sure you do. Brendan's Platinums. I've gotten 3 platinums this week. Wolf Among Us, Plants vs. Zombies, and Saints Row Get Out of Hell. Wolf Among Us, very, very good game. Very good. Great story. Really looking forward to the second one now. Very good game. Highly recommend that. Very easy platinum as well, obviously. But very, very good game. Plants vs. Zombies, surprisingly a fun game. I got it for free when they brought it out. When EA had that weekend giveaway, they gave it out for free. I got it then, and I enjoyed it. Not a bad game. Not a bad game at all. A good little fun game to play. It's not... You cannot help but have fun in that game. You can't take it seriously. It's just a fun game to play. Really enjoying it. So I got that platinum, and that was a bit of a grind, though. That took a while. And finally, Saints Row Get Out of Hell. That was a hell of a grind. 15 hours I grinded this goddamn platinum. Man, I was just doing the same thing over and over, trying to get kills, grinding kills. The things you do for trophies, man, is crazy. But not a bad game. Like, very short story. That was the thing that disappointed me. The story was like 3 hours long. And then you had like 15 hours of grinding out the rest of the game. So, yeah, pretty short game, but, not a bad game. I enjoyed it. And obviously, it's not meant to be a big game. It's not a full release. It's just a PSN game. But, it was still a good game. Definitely enjoyed it. But, yeah, so I've been playing a few games this week. A few completions. I finally got Elder Scroll Online, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that last week. But I finally got it. I played a bit of it. I'm only level 5. I need people to play with. That's kind of the problem. Like, this game, you just need people to play with. It's kind of a bit boring by yourself. But it's got some shades of Skyrim that makes me, feel good and brings back some good memories. So I'm feeling okay. I'm happy with my purchase so far. But I just feel like it's missing something. I just feel like I need something else. This game just isn't quite doing it for me yet. It's just missing something. I don't know what it is. Hopefully I can find that very soon. But definitely... the game has some potential. A lot of potential, but can it live up to that potential? I don't know. Alright, so let's get into our voicemails for this week and our questions coming in from you guys, sent in on the BrendenPlayz forums at BrendenPlayz.com/forums, on the Let's Talk Tuesday thread, or in the YouTube comment section down below, or even some voicemails coming in from these guys. So this first one comes from FDNF.
What do you think of the large amount of injuries in the WWE as of late?
Way too many injuries. It's crazy. I don't know what is going on. They've got this multi-million-dollar performance center. They've got all these doctors and everything like that and doing all this research, yet they're still getting so many injuries. Are they being overworked? Are they working too many matches? Are they, do they need more time off? Do they need time to rest? Are these guys having these minor injuries that the WWE are making them work through that's aggravating into something more serious? I don't know. But there's just so many injuries right now. It's concerning. We got Eric Rowan go down. We've got, the tag team division is cursed at the moment. I mean, Tyson Kidd. I think it's Jey Uso, Eric Rowan now. Not looking good. Not looking. Rusev's out as well. So a lot of injuries. I mean, it's a shame that we can't have Adam Rose and Bad News Barrett and Sheamus get injured. That would be fantastic. But unfortunately, no. We have to have some guys with some talent and some potential to go down, which kind of sucks. But very, very concerning at the moment. I don't know what is causing these injuries, but they need to try and rectify that ASAP, because sooner or later, half their roster is going to be goddamn down. This next question comes in from Mike Adams.
Who do you think will win at Battleground, Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar?
Well, really, at the moment, your guess is as good as mine. I still think Seth Rollins is going to get a victory in some, sleazy way. The Authority will interfere somehow and eventually help Lesnar lose in some kind of way. I personally don't want to see another Brock Lesnar title reign. I'm kind of done with that. I think Seth Rollins still should be champion. But I have no idea. They're not going to have Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar clean. There's no way in hell. No chance. I've got more chance of winning the goddamn lottery than that happening. There's no way that's going to happen. But how do they get this out of the way? Like, if it's a screw job finish, then they're going to have another match. So I have no idea how they're going to get Brock Lesnar out of this situation. I'm hoping they thought of something good, because I can't think of a way. Other than the Authority, interfering and maybe a distraction, and then, they take a ref bump and they beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar for a good 5 minutes while the referee's dying, and then the referee miraculously makes a recovery, and eventually Seth Rollins, hits him with steel chairs and everything you could name, and eventually gets the 3 count. Maybe, but even then, I don't even know if they're going to do that. Brock Lesnar, is he believable to even lose? I don't think anybody in this, anybody's believable to beat Brock Lesnar at this point. So, to answer your question, I'm still going to say Seth Rollins, but I have no idea how he's going to do it. This next one comes in from Tanzim Ahmed.
Brendan, Stardust has been challenging the actor Stephen Amell to a match at SummerSlam. Do you think that Stephen will accept or not?
Well, you get the feeling if he was going to accept, they would have done something with it by now. It seems as though they kind of dropped it. They teased it at one point. They just kind of dropped it and, swept it on the rug. Stardust, obviously, we don't even know what's going on with his character. Is he going to come back as Stardust, or is he going to come back as Cody Rhodes? We don't know. So I just think that whole situation with the Green Arrow guy, Stephen Amell, was it, is gone. I don't think he's not really a big enough star to really warrant it to point where nobody's really going to care. I haven't watched Arrow. I know it's a pretty decent show. I just don't really care for those types of shows, but I really would not care at all. If anything, I am glad that they are not doing that, because I have no interest at all in seeing that. I don't even have any interest at all in seeing Stardust, let alone an actor that I don't really watch anything that he's in. So just a quick thank you for those guys who did send in a voicemail this week. Obviously, if you want to send in a voicemail, make sure you do it at BrendenPlayz.com. Do it for next week's show. I'd love to have heaps of voicemails to play on the show. So we have some more questions, though. This one comes from the Roman Predator. At WrestleMania, The Rock and Rousey feud with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon was a big talking point. It's been 4 months now, and it hasn't gone any further. Do you think the WWE has dropped the feud, or will it come back at SummerSlam or something? I think it's more of a case of, can Rousey get approval from the UFC to do it? I know they would love to do something with Ronda Rousey, and I know they would love to have her in a match at WrestleMania. So I think that's the plan. WrestleMania 32, is it? Are we at 32? Yeah, I'm starting to lose count. I think next WrestleMania, I'm going to say that to cut my ass. Next WrestleMania, I know they would love to have Ronda Rousey in there. It's just a matter of, can the UFC, will they actually allow her to do it? I've been a lot of talk that they won't allow her to do it, so unfortunately, it's probably unlikely at this point, but I think they might get something done. I think they'll work something out, the UFC. I mean, come on. Why not? I mean, it's good publicity for both sides. I mean, Probably helps the WWE more so than the UFC, but, come on, the UFC can always use it a bit more of a boost and have Ronda Rousey become an even bigger star than she already has become. Ronda Rousey's doing very, very well for herself, so, why not? Get her in a match, who cares? She's not going to get hurt or anything like that. Like, I doubt it. I very much so doubt it. So it's not really going to do anything to affect her fighting, anything. It's not going to affect their cards coming up in the future. I doubt anything's really going to happen other than they get some exposure. Maybe the UFC will demand that the WWE promotes UFC or something like that in exchange for Ronda Rousey. Maybe the WWE will actually finally, stop being so egotistical and actually acknowledge UFC's existence and, suck it up and do it. I don't know, but I would like to see Ronda Rousey get involved at some point. I kind of like her. She's a good role model anyway. So next one comes from good old MathWiz97X. He wants to know, what are your hopes or expectations for WWE 2K16 My Career Mode? Well, let's be honest, I don't have a lot of hopes. I don't have a lot of expectations. I'm keeping the bar low. I'm hoping they have some voice actors in there and actually voice our My Career guy or do something to make it a little bit more interesting, because at the moment, My Career is just boring, it's bland. We need to make sure that we don't have 10 weeks of dark matches. We need to make sure more things are happening more often. It's, I guess, in a way, in NBA, they have a lot of time, downtime where not much actually happens in the story but for a while there, but this is different. This is WWE. Things are always happening. Storylines always need to happen, and it's easy to do this. We need to have more storylines. We need to make sure you don't spend a good 5-10 hours in NXT and Superstars and main event doing absolutely nothing like I was doing. It took me forever to get anywhere. It took me forever to even get a storyline. It took me forever to do anything in the goddamn mode. So the mode just needs to be more interesting, just needs more entertaining and more rewarding. It's just nothing really to it. Next one from Viper Rules 101. What title at the moment do you think is more relevant, the US title or the IC title? Definitely US title. The IC title, despite Ryback having it, I like Ryback. The US title is one of the highlights of the show every single week. John Cena has it, for goodness sake, so clearly US title. Flynn, when do you think Tyler Breeze will finally be called up, and do you think he can become a successful superstar with his current gimmick? Look, I don't mind Tyler Breeze. I'm not a huge fan. I like the kind of gimmick that he's doing. I think it's decent. I think he's nothing more than a mid-card guy, and it's taken them a long time to kind of get anywhere with Tyler Breeze, and he's been one of those guys I think has just been overlooked, and they've been bringing in all these other guys, Balor, Owens, and Samoa Joe, or even Rhino. They're bringing all these other guys, and immediately they just forget about Tyler Breeze, and these guys step above him. So I think Tyler Breeze, to me, he kind of screams like a Dolph Ziggler kind of career, but even less of a success than Dolph Ziggler, in my opinion. I think we have a good mid-card guy, not a bad little gimmick to do in the mid-card, but I don't really see all that much from him. And when will he be called up? Who the hell knows? I don't see it for another year or so, because there's so many other guys I would rather see before him. Maybe after the next WrestleMania, and then we have these next group of guys getting called up. I think I could see Tyler Breeze coming in then. Next one from Jack Miller. What were your thoughts on the first Tough Enough episode of this season? This is an interesting one. I did enjoy it. I like the new format. I like the new way they're doing it. In my opinion, if you did not watch Tough Talk, which was the 30-minute WWE Network special afterwards, you would have absolutely no idea who the hell any of these people are. I came out of this episode thinking, I don't know anything about these guys. I have no care whatsoever about anybody other than really like ZZ. And the guy is out of shape, and obviously he's not going to win any single challenges. But all I see is a lot of jacked up muscle dudes who think they're so great, but really they ain't shit. And they're getting beaten every single week by Tanner and all the challenges. So next week it's going to be very interesting to see. Hank getting out, I think that was the right choice. I would have voted him out too. But like I said, if you didn't watch Tough Talk after the show, then you probably have no idea what's going on. You probably have no care in the world about these characters. So I've kind of quickly learned, if you're going to watch Tough Enough, there's just not enough they can fit in that normal airing, and they need to probably show more footage rather than having them out on the stage and crap. I would rather see more footage than them talking to them, but that's just me. I would save all the talking for Tough Talk afterwards, and have like the reality stuff shown. But that's just me. I'd rather see that. But I do like how they're kind of going back and forth. And they could probably do more with the judges, though. They didn't really do a lot with them. But I do like the new format. I think the show has potential. I did enjoy it. I'm going to keep watching. I know a lot of people saying it sucked, and that's fair enough. I can understand why, because I think the first episode was very underwhelming. But I think the show will still be entertaining. I'm still looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I'm still going to tune in. Still going to check out the rest. Coming in from Sandman44A, when do you think Bray Wyatt will finally be pushed into the WWE title scene? Look, who knows? I mean, I don't even know what they're doing with Bray Wyatt. They just give him this random push. All of a sudden, they do something with him, and then they stop doing something with him for a month, and they bring him back in. They start doing something with him, and then they just stop. It's just stupid at this point. I have no idea. Does Bray Wyatt's character fit a championship? Probably not. But did The Undertaker? Probably not. But he won the title many times. So if they actually do something right with Bray Wyatt, they do something right, and they actually finally establish him as a main event heel, then he can have a great place in the WWE, and he could have a big future in the main event. And he's got a great character. He's doing a little bit better with this creepy little thing he's going with Roman Reigns. This is better than what he's been doing. I'm liking what they're doing with him. They just got to do more of it. So far, so good with Bray. Obviously, he's been wanting to win the WWE title because he's pissed off at Roman Reigns that he cost his opportunity at Money in the Bank. So Bray Wyatt's character wants to be champion. When will he win the title? I don't even know if he will ever win the title. But I think expect him to probably compete for the title in maybe the next 6 months or so, because they're running out of heels, and Bray Wyatt's a top heel, I guess. So I expect him to be thrown in there at some point. This one comes from Charge Cooper. My question is, how do you feel with WWE not continuing Sting's feud with Triple H after WrestleMania 31? And do you think this will be his last WWE appearance? Well, I'm glad they didn't continue the feud because it was done. You know, the feud was done. Moving on to something else. I'm a little surprised they didn't do something with him at SummerSlam. I still, deep down, would like to see, the fan in me still wants to see Sting and Undertaker just in the same ring at the same time. Even if it's not a match, just to see those guys look each other in the eye and have a stare down. I would just love to see that. It'd be amazing. I don't think it's going to be his last appearance. I watched on the network today, he was doing this Monday Night Wars special with Triple H. They were sitting down and analysing the Monday Night Wars episodes or things like that and talking about the Monday Night Wars. So he's obviously going to start to doing more network stuff, doing some more WWE DVDs and things like that, doing the interviews that they haven't done with him, getting his opinions on all these things that they haven't gotten. So he's going to be doing that role for a long time, in that Legends role. One more match. I thought he was good at WrestleMania. I thought he was good enough. I don't think he was amazing, but, you know, for a guy who's like 55 years old, I thought he was good enough. I probably exceeded my expectations, to be honest. So I wouldn't mind seeing him have another match. Why not? Maybe Bray Wyatt. I mean, although Bray Wyatt and Undertaker was a bit of a snoozer, so maybe not. This one comes from Joe Levy. Which people on your shit list do you think could be repackaged? Nobody. They're on the shit list for a reason. If they're on the shit list, they're done. Who's on the shit list? Well, I think at the moment it's probably Adam Rose, Bad News Barrett, maybe the Ascension. Who else is on there? Oh, probably Bo Dallas. I don't care for him at all. Yeah. Sheamus is working his way back onto the shit list. Big Show, he's still on the shit list, but I think Big Show, that's just because he's just booked and, you know, so badly, it's just ridiculous. So out of those guys, I don't think anything can be really repackaged. I think the Ascension can be repackaged, to be honest, and saved, but the rest of it, I have no hope for. Ronnie G wants to know, what do you think that the WWE should do with John Cena after he's done with Kevin Owens? I think John Cena is going to lose the US title to Kevin Owens, so I think John Cena will lose, maybe have another match with Owens. Owens wins again, and then you bring John Cena back into the main event. So that's really the only place he can go. He's not like he's going to compete for the IC title, so I think John Cena will go back in the main event. Will he be the champion? I don't think so, but he'll have some feuds in the main event. Perhaps Seth Rollins and John Cena feud again. And final question for today's episode comes from Lee Pierce. What do you think of Emma's new gimmick / attitude in NXT? I haven't watched NXT, and that's been my own problem. I haven't watched much, but I do check out a few clips. I've seen her being more serious, and that's what needs to happen. Emma is a good talent. She's been very underutilized, and that's one of the people that has been definitely underutilized in the last 12 months. Ever since that stupid shoplifting incident, she's been just buried and being useless. So I'm glad they're doing something with her on NXT. That whole dance thing that she used to do with the stupid music. I don't know if she still does that because I haven't watched that intently. But that was bad. That was bad. It was always going to fail. It worked in NXT, but like they said, some things in NXT don't always work when you get to the main roster. So just because it works in NXT doesn't mean it's going to work in front of a 20,000 seat arena. So that was a pure example of that. It did not work. Did not get over. People didn't care for it. And getting paired with Santino straight away, who is shitlist member, Hall of Fame member, Santino Marella. He will forever be the number one man on my shit list. I don't care if he's retired. He is in the Hall of Fame of the shit list. I'm hoping he never comes back, by the way. But anyways, being paired with him was just, a license to fail. So it was never going to work. Maybe they can finally salvage her. She's got potential. She's good. So I'm hoping they can save her and, bring her up and give her something decent to do this time. Alright guys, that's our questions for this week's episode. But before we go, just want to give a quick mention to Patreon. I've started up my own Patreon for Let's Talk Tuesdays. Well, for the show, my channel, Let's Talk Tuesdays. For the podcast, my YouTube channel. I've started up a Patreon, and this is a way, I guess, to support the show, give back, and you can get your own little rewards as well. I guess most of you guys probably know how Patreon works at this point. So what I've got at the moment, I've got a couple little rewards. I want you guys to give you some feedback. What kind of things would you like to see from Patreon? What kind of things would you like me to offer for you guys in return of your donations and support? So at the moment, if you pay $1, I've got down that you'll get the 2K15 Universe Mode pay-per-views 3 days earlier than everyone else, and you'll also have your name entered in a monthly t-shirt giveaway draw. So I think that's a little decent thing. Only $1 a month, not bad. $3 or more, obviously, you get all that, but you also get yourself a little shout out on Let's Talk Tuesdays to say thank you. So I'll read out your name and say thanks to you. And $10 or more, I give you a shout out or a plug for anything you'd like to promote on the show. And for $25 or more, obviously you get, all of them get everything. $25 or more, you have the opportunity to come on Let's Talk Tuesdays and have your question answered and talk on the podcast with myself. So that's pretty cool. So just a few things I want to do there. I just want to kind of kick the Patreon off to help make the show better. I'm looking to kind of like upgrade my computer and things like that because I'm in a bad spot. My computer's slow and things, it's just hard getting videos out. So I would like to make more videos and faster. I'd like to make my videos better. But that just obviously, it's difficult to do when you don't have the funds. So it's just a little way you can give back to the show. It's completely optional. I just thought I'd mention it for you guys. And if you want to do it, the link will be in the description down below. And I would appreciate everyone that does go ahead and do it. I would definitely appreciate that. And I will make sure that I definitely say thanks to you on future episodes of the show. And that's pretty much going to do it for this week's edition of Let's Talk Tuesdays. Of course, follow me on Twitter at BrendenPlayz. Like me on Facebook, BrendenPlayz Official. The website, you know it by now, BrendenPlayz.com. YouTube, I'm going to be surprised if none of you already subscribe, but if you want to subscribe, youtube.com/BrendenPlayz. And that's pretty much it, guys. So, of course, leave your questions for next week. BrendenPlayz.com/forums in the Let's Talk Tuesday thread or in the YouTube comment section on this video. And, of course, you can use the voicemail tool on the website as well. I definitely encourage you guys to do that. And that's it. I'm out. That's it from me. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you all next Tuesday.